I read your email, but I would love to hear like straight from you, like a quick rundown and then like what you're hoping to get from today.
Yeah, definitely. So we adopted Remy back in September, and I would say the first like month or so, everything was like pretty normal with him. In terms of like stool wise, he got diagnosed with Giardia pretty quick thereafter. And then from there, he had Giardia again, and then like a few bouts of worms and like a southern dog. We don't know if they were kind of like living dormant in him or like whatever, but like I feel like every possible like parasite and everything he went through. So for a while, his stools have been just like half firm, half soft. And like the second half soft, sometimes it's just like a little bit runny, but sometimes it's like a puddle.
Yeah.
So I actually just got the testing back today. A couple weeks ago, we ran testing to see if it was inflamed bowel disorder, and also ran like a really intense panel to test for like all sorts of parasites and everything came back clear today.
Okay.
So at that appointment, the vet recommended the Hills VD, and that's when I reached out to you because like we really haven't tried that much for food options. And I was looking at the ingredients on the bag, and like the 3 out of the first 4 were potato. And I was like, how is this going to help my dog? And it's like $100 for 10 pounds.
Whoa.
And he's a 75-pound dog.
I know that food is so expensive, but I didn't realize it was that expensive. My God.
Maybe it was 15 pounds, but still, it was like excessive for potato. Like,
right. I know. And I know that they like hydrolyze and like they like do stuff to it to make it highly digestible. Okay, but we can get into that. I'll let you finish.
So then before I reached out to you, actually, I started like doing a bunch of research on just different options, raw food, all that. And I actually follow you on Instagram, and I actually ordered some Darwins, and he is getting about 65 of his daily percentage of raw right now. Okay. And he's been doing really, really well on that. Okay. But he's still having that like last little bit of his poo is like still loose.
Okay. Is it really hot where you are?
Not really. It is getting hot right now, but
my other question is because he's like a GSP mix. He kind of looks like, right? Like some like pointer or something.
He's coonhound. He looks like a GSP, but yeah, he's like 30% blue tick, 20% treeing walker. We did the DNA. Yeah.
Very southern dog. That makes sense.
Exactly.
When he's having like the little loose stool at the end, is it after heavy activity?
No, it's like every single stool.
Every single stool. So like even like first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay, but it has improved with the raw added to his kibble.
Mm-hmm. It used to be like 50-50 normal loose, and now it's probably like the last 20%.
Okay, and then the kibble, what kibble is he eating right now?
Purina Pro Sensitive Skin and Stomach, the lamb one.
Okay, and was that the food that you brought him home, like the rescue gave you?
Yeah.
Okay. So I have a few thoughts, and I think it like knowing that the raw food help like definitely points me in the right direction. Because a couple things, and I went through the Giardia cycle with my dog as well. He had Giardia, I think 7 times in his first year home, because in Chicago it's just so bad. But what I learned from that is it can like really wreak a havoc on their digestive system, not so much just like the parasite itself, but the treatment for it.
Okay.
And the dosages can be quite strong. I don't know if they did like the 10-day break and then another 10-day one for you. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they do like Panicure and Metro.
Yeah, and he was on Dontrol at one point too. I
Yeah.
think that might have been for the worm. I don't even know anymore.
So what can happen is like same thing with humans, right? Like when you take a really powerful antibiotic, it also kills out the good bacteria in the
Okay.
gut biome, and that can cause like a lot of issues in itself, not just with like regulating stool, but it can create this like cycle of vulnerability, you know? And it's one of those things that like once you have like some inflammation in the system and then you're feeding a food that like isn't super digestible or may not sit right with the dog, then and they're already susceptible, then it just like becomes even worse, right?
Okay.
And then they get caught in this cycle. Like I compare it to, I don't know if you've ever had like a phase of like really bad acne,
Mm-hmm.
but like I remember in high school, it's like you would wash your skin with like benzoyl peroxide, that really tough stuff, and then your skin gets angry and you get more acne, and then you wash your face more, and then you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
that same cycle of inflammation, over treating, you know. Um, so like with the raw food, it makes sense that it could help that because it's really easy on the system to digest.
Okay.
And so that, and it's also, I don't want to say it's anti-inflammatory because it doesn't counteract existing inflammation, but it doesn't promote or cause inflammation.
Okay.
So it's really good for dogs whose systems kind of need like a reset. And because of like the digestive enzymes and stuff in it, sorry, I have a cough. It can help rebuild the biome as well.
Okay.
So the good news is if he was previously doing fine on the kibble, he may just need a good reset, like a rest. Which is kind of what they use that Hills food for. They may have talked to you about this, but like they don't usually prescribe it as like a lifetime diet. It's normally like 6 to 8 weeks, and then they encourage you to wean your dog back onto their other food.
Okay.
And it's the same principle of let's just feed this like highly digestible food, give the dog system a break, let them recover, and then slowly add back in the old food. However, like for the price of that food, like there are other food types that do the same thing that may even be cheaper, such as like the Darwin's food, you know.
Mm-hmm. And they didn't talk about it being only like a short-term thing either.
Okay, so like, you know, that could have been something that would maybe like show up on the prescription. Sometimes they say like some vets, you know, it's like they don't have the time to like do these cases, so they're like, well, if it fixes the dog's poops, then I guess that's just what it's eating the rest of its life, like coming back and bothering me, you know. But like I would guess that because the raw food is helping, that's probably what he needs. And so I would try. The good news is I just got a private code to use for people who do these consults that will give you 50% off your first full order.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, like specifically for people like you who have a dog where it's like going to be like trial and error, and like this will give you like a good like way to trial and error it without breaking the bank.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I'm working on nailing down those final details for them. But it's going to be something that I'm not talking about with the public. And basically you'll place the order and then you'll have to call their customer service line and they'll apply it to your order. Okay. But keep that in mind because I think that could be something worth trying. If you could just give him, you know, like 4 to 8 weeks of 100% raw and see if you can just reset him.
Yeah, that would be great because it, like the first day he regurgitated the first meal and I gave him like 2 ounces of it, but then after that he was like totally smooth and had no issues with it.
Okay, that's good news. Dogs like can puke for the wildest reasons. So like sometimes new food can definitely be the causation. Sometimes it's just coincidence that it happened.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to say, but I'm glad to hear that he's transitioning.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like I just talked about Darwin's because I have that code, but if there was like, if you like happen to see a pet store near you like having a big sale or something, like it's, as long as it meets AFCO guidelines, and if you're buying it in a pet store, it will,
Okay.
it should be okay.
And that's one thing I was wondering with the raw too. Like, I feel like with kibble, like you kind of stick to one, or most people do, and then when you switch, it's like a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
But like with raw, is it a little easier? Are they, I guess, do they transition easier between brands or formulas or whatever?
Totally. For most dogs, you could switch proteins, brands without any transition, because the nutrient profiles are very similar and the digestibility is very similar.
Okay.
I have only heard of like 2 dogs that have like severe sensitivities, and like they just have found one thing that works for them and they just stick with it, for raw food. But yeah, generally you can just swap in and out unless there's an allergy, of course, to like, lamb or something.
Yeah. And we ran the allergy panel too, and that came back
And
all
yeah.
fine.
So like, here's the thing is like, when you've done all the tests, and have they also talked about pancreatitis at all?
They haven't.
Okay.
Not yet.
I don't think it's pancreatitis, because pancreatitis is when a dog is sensitive, is not great at digesting fat. And so high fat diets, or even just average fat diets, can give them chronic GI upset. But raw food diets are quite high in fat. So he's been going the other way, but sometimes they'll test for that just in case. But what I was going to say is like, when you do all this testing and it's all coming back negative, it usually just points to the dog not digesting their food well.
Yeah. And
it's really common for dogs. Like most dogs don't digest kibble well. Most people just don't realize that their dog is abnormal because they don't have something to compare it to, or their family dog was like that too. But it sounds like with your guy that he is okay with kibble, but he just had like a massive upset and needs like a restart.
Okay. Makes me feel better. And also, like, I live in the suburbs and like walk him around where I need to like physically pick up every single poop. It's not like he's out in the woods or whatever. So a little more hands-on.
I have like scrubbed puddles of liquid poop off the Chicago sidewalks more than I would the Giardia. It's just like, I would have to like walk around with a Nalgene that is like has bleach in it and like rinse down, like so embarrassing and awkward. So I feel you on that. But yeah, and it's like, if you didn't want to do raw forever, I think it could be a temporary thing. And the other option would be is putting him back on kibble, but also like incorporating like canned food as part of it. And with canned food, you have a lot more wiggle room. You don't have to buy like this super expensive stuff. Like Costco sells a great canned food that's 89 cents a can. You can get 24 cans for like 21 bucks, and it's great. So that could also be a way to cut out some kibble and, just like take some like take a little weight off of his digestive system. Okay.
Do you have any recommendations for like more digestible kibbles for like if we do transition back to that?
Yeah. So one that I've seen a lot of dogs have success with, and it is pricier, but not like the DD, is the Farmina digestion kibble.
Okay.
It is, I think it only comes in lamb. So that's good that we already know lamb works for him. And it, like, a lot of dogs have success with it. I have a client whose dog had HGE, which is like terrible GI upset. It's like where they're like puking and blood is going out of both ends.
Oh God.
And he did great on that food, completely changed him. He was on Purina prior as well. So that could be one that could just be worth the money, because then you'll just be out of the vet.
Yeah.
it can be tough to find how in person. However, Farmina has a e-store and they ship like just as quickly as Chewy.
Okay.
So don't be shy of using it. They're an Italian company, so their website, like some people look at it and they're like, is this a legitimate website? It's just like the translations don't always match up, but it's totally safe and legit to purchase from
Okay.
them. Yeah. So don't be freaked out by it. So I would consider that. And then I'm trying to think. Like a more affordable food that a lot of people have had success with is Victor High Pro Plus. It's probably it's one of the lowest carb affordable foods. It's a multi-protein, so they use multiple proteins. So like in your dog's case, it will work because he doesn't have a food allergy. That's a good one. And it's like you can get like 40 pounds for like $45, so a lot cheaper. Wow. And you can like probably buy it anywhere near you. And then like Purina does make a sensitive systems food. It's actually Purina 1. Okay. And that's on the lower carb side too. I'm saying lower carb because carbs are usually what will cause the inflammation in the gut if they're not digested well. And if they're not digested well, it can cause fermentation in the gut, which can lead to like gross ears and things like that. Okay. So the Purina 1 sensitive systems, that's like a super affordable food that you could find at like Target even, that a lot of people who have like similar dogs to yours have had success on. Okay. But also like don't be afraid to mix kibbles. Like if you wanted to do like some Farmina and like cut it with like some like Victor High Pro Plus or Purina 1 to just like, save some money, don't be afraid to try. Like if it works, it works. And if you buy from Chewy, actually, if the food doesn't work for your dog, they'll refund you and tell you to just donate the food.
That's awesome. I got my first crate with him from there, and they did the same thing because he like grew out of it in a week.
Oh yeah, they're great. So I always tell people, if you have a dog like yours where you like have to do a lot of food trial and erroring, just buy it through Chewy so you can always get your money back. I don't know if I should be advertising that, but I'm sure they make enough money to like cover your one bag of food. I'm not too worried about it. Okay, let's take a pause there. Do you have any questions about what I just went over?
No. So I'll keep transitioning him for a little while longer, get him 100% on raw and just see how he's doing on that and just like get his tummy like reset.
Yeah.
Oh, he is on the Purina Calming Care probiotic.
Okay, I was gonna ask you if the vet had recommended a probiotic.
Yeah. So while he was on the Metro and everything, he was getting just the Fortiflora. Mm-hmm. And then he actually has like really horrible separation anxiety. So they recommended switching it over to that Calming Care one too.
Okay.
So yeah.
Have you seen an improvement with the anxiety with it?
Not yet. So we met with a veterinary behaviorist back in March, and she put him on, well, first back in December, we did a separation anxiety trainer and did 2 months of behavior modification training, no drugs, and saw a little bit of an improvement, but still we're only about 5 minutes of his threshold of being alone. Okay. And then in March, met with a veterinary behaviorist, and she put him on Reconcile, like the dog Prozac, and Clonidine for as needed when he's alone, and the Calming Care. But we kind of staggered the Calming Care with the Prozac to see like how the adjustment was for everything.
Yeah.
and the Prozac was a huge help. Like he's a much just like more chill, balanced dog, but he's not a zombie, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But so I think we're on like 4 weeks now of the calming care, and they say it takes about 6 weeks before to see a difference there. So
yeah, there's like legitimate scientific research that has come out like in the past year or two that has made a connection between gut health and the mental health of our dogs, even for other mental health issues such as like aggression. So that's a very real thing. So I'm glad that you're, like pursuing that avenue as well. I've heard very mixed things about the calming care, like it either works or not. But I would say if you don't find success with calming care, revisit your vet and see if there's a different probiotic you could try. There are some that are like, they're going to be more expensive and your vet could probably give you better recommendations for this. But there are some that are like very legit. Like they get shipped overnight in a refrigerated container. They have to stay in the refrigerator.
Oh yeah.
They're very, very potent and powerful. So see how it goes. But that's like a very real thing. And that could also make sense too if he's having like some massive GI upset. Things could just be out of whack. I'm not saying that that's gonna like fix his separation anxiety, but it could definitely be a piece of his journey of getting rehabilitated.
Yeah, definitely. I remember our separation anxiety trainer that we were working with said that like with her dog, that was like where she started this journey with, if she had like an itchy butthole or something, like the world was ending, they couldn't leave the house, but like if she was feeling good, then it was a great day and like she could go to work.
Yeah, totally. Like even my own dog who has chronic pain, like he has good days and bad days, and on his bad days it's like a dog better not come into a space. It's like when I have a headache, like in my neighborhood blaring music, I'm like, oh. So
totally
like I get it. Okay, so that's great to hear that you're like making progress with that, because the other thing I was gonna say is dogs that are really stressed can just have GI upset as well. Anxiety, like you'll see a lot of dogs who people fly them and then they'll get out of the crate and like go have nasty diarrhea. So stress can also be a contributing factor.
Okay, that definitely makes sense.
Have you noticed any correlation between his like GI issues and like more stressful weeks versus calmer weeks or better weeks for him?
I haven't really paid attention to it, but I definitely will moving forward. It's really only like being alone that is like a trigger for him.
Okay.
And electric wheelchairs. But and obviously like living in this weird pandemic world, he hasn't been alone like too much, because like day one we realized like, holy shit, I can't even take a shower.
Okay, so it's really bad.
Yeah, and thank God it's not to that point anymore. He got like settled into the house pretty quickly, but I think like day 2 we had left him here to like walk up the street and get ice cream or something, and he was just like howling the entire time, and it was rough. I don't know why he was surrendered. He was 8 months when we got him, and they didn't tell us anything about why he was surrendered, but hindsight is like he had anxieties and stuff that prior owners couldn't deal with.
Yeah. Well, the thing is like it's totally fixable. Like sometimes it takes time, but it's totally fixable. And I know like sometimes people don't like to hear silver linings, but if he's a dog that just expresses his anxiety through barking and being annoying, you're really lucky. I had a client once where the dog chewed its own tail off. Like literally, they came home, blood everywhere. The dog ate its own tail. Like that's how anxious it was.
Oh my God.
I know, right? So like you're on the right path, and like I'm glad he ended up in your home so you can like catch him and like help him get rehabilitated. But I think there's like a couple of variables I could be going. I could definitely be like the gnarly parasites that he had that just like really mess him up inside. I would bet with like a good reboot of just easy to digest, calm food, you could then start to transition him back onto like a more affordable kibble or kibble canned food mixed diet of your choice.
Okay.
So I really wouldn't stress about it too much. And as he's progressing with his anxiety, I bet that will help as well.
Okay.
Because that's like a very real connection that I've seen.
Okay. That is really good to know. Do you have any like tips or tricks on how to prevent him from possibly getting Giardia again, besides like keeping him away from dog parks and that sort of thing?
I'm sure they've given you the rundown of like no standing water. Have they like talked to you about all of that?
Yeah.
Okay, so like yeah, my thing is like even if he just greets another dog on leash, they can contract it like sniffing the dog's butt. The other thing to be mindful of is I'm not saying that this is your dog, but this was my dog for a little bit, for a couple of years of his life. Actually, is he became an asymptomatic carrier. So what can happen is, did they describe like the actual parasite of Giardia and how the shedding cycle works?
Like in the cysts and it like, yeah.
Yeah. So like what happens is when they do the medication rounds, depending where the parasites are in their shedding cycle, the medication may or may not wipe them all out. The ones that still have their shell on don't get affected. So what can happen is you can have a few stragglers that live in the GI system, and the dog isn't necessarily contagious or like overrun and like infected with Giardia. But what happens is whenever there's a moment of immune weakness or like disruption of the GI, they can take advantage of that. And then they start multiplying, and then you're like, what the heck? Like, and then it comes out of nowhere, and it's because of that. So that was my dog's problem for a couple of years.
Damn.
Yeah, it's like, so whenever he would get sick with something else, like if he would have an ear infection or like a cough, that would rear its nasty head. But we've been in the clear for a couple of years now, so I think we're good. But that could also be something.
Okay. That's crazy. It's such a beast.
I know people think that I'm like such a psychopath about like my no dog park, my no greeting strange dog rules. But if you've lived through some of this stuff,
yeah,
it's like it's just not worth it. I get so mad, you know. And even just like kennel cough and like canine flu, they pick up everything.
My God, so we do scent work, and he was
Oh,
like
cool.
sniffing through the grass the other night. And then he like lifted his head after probably like 40 seconds of sniffing through the grass, and he just started coughing. I'm like, what is going on? Why are you coughing? And then for the like next 2 days, he just kept coughing. And I couldn't tell if it was like allergies. And then like a dog daycare in town that I follow on Instagram posted that like kennel cough is on the rise in the area. And I was like, oh my God.
So,
But
okay, do you want to hear the crazy thing about kennel cough? Is dogs can transmit it to each other from up to 10 feet away.
it's worse than Corona.
Yeah. So like you live in the suburbs, so at least you like have more space, but in the like where I live, it's like, you know, you just pass a dog in an intersection.
Yeah.
It's like how like you can't live in a bubble like that. So I know it's just part of owning a dog. And as you've had a dog longer, these things will just start to affect you less. You'll be like, all right, let's go to the vet. It is what it is, sadly. But yes. Okay. So I know we're like bumping up on time.
Yeah.
Go forward plan. I will get in touch with you when I have that code. And actually, you know what? You may not even need the code. If you just want to call the Darwin's customer service line, they answer the phone. It's real people. You can say, Maddie Guy, like at My Boy Rudder, has a code. You can mention it's managed by their employee, Kristen, if they give you any pushback.
Okay.
It should be set up. They were sending me like cards in the mail to hand out to my clients, but they haven't gotten here. So I don't know what the actual like numeric code is, but if you call, I'm sure that they'll honor it. Okay. So go forward plan is I would try 100% raw for like at least 4 weeks. If he's having success, slowly bring back in some kibble, and like you can send me as many emails or DMs as you want for follow-up support for free. So if you're at the 4-week mark and you're like are feeling like you need some help in decision making of how to move forward, let me know and we can address it. And then at that time, I would kind of just make a decision about which kibble you want to try. And honestly, like if you just want to go back to the pro plan that you knew worked for him, like that could be an option too. You don't like for dogs that have like some question marks, sometimes it's just easier to stick to what you know works, and you got to let go of like what everyone on Instagram and like what people tell you should be feeding your dog. Focus on the dog in front of you. So try that. If you want to explore some of those kibble options, the Farmina Digestion, Victor High Pro Plus, or Purina One Sensitive Systems would be my options for like 3 different price tiers. And then keep going with the probiotic. I think that will be really helpful for you.
Okay.
Yeah. And then just keep me updated. It really helps to just keep notes in your phone, because you'll notice some patterns that you may not have picked up on before. So see if there's a correlation between more stressful days for him and his stool quality. There could be something there. I'd be really curious about that.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna like start paying attention to that.
Okay, awesome. Do you have any other questions?
I don't think so. This has been really, really helpful.
Okay, good. I'm glad. And like I said, like email, DM, whatever. I'm here to help. And then I'm literally gonna write it on my hand, code. Give them a call if you want to order more food, because it's only available for people who have already done the trial, which you've done. So you should be good to go. But let me know if you get pushback and I'll work it out with Kristen.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes. Have a good rest of your day and good luck. I'm looking forward to hearing updates.
All right. Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.